Well, guys, welcome back to the Corridor Cast. Niko has some amazing technology where it only captures his voice, nothing else.
You can't tell right now, but there's actually a metal band in my backyard that's practicing.
Yeah. Sephiroth was practicing in his backyard.
Sephiroth, what a reference, man.
Yeah, thanks. They got me through law school.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Back today, guys, we got Niko Paringer.
Hello.
We've got Christian Bergerstrom.
Greetings.
And we've got Wren Weichman. There he is. That googly-eyed guy right there.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Guys, I'm sorry I missed the last podcast because that topic of conversation was right up my alley.
You're all about moral paradoxes?
I mean, just that sort of like existential stuff I really enjoy. So, you know.
All right, Jake, then just the one word yes or no answer. Would you kill baby Hitler?
No.
That's what we came to also.
That's what we all ended up coming to.
That's my ultimate answer.
There's actually a good response in the comments where they said it's not your job to make that call. By you taking upon that moral dilemma, you are creating an immoral situation. Same question of if there's garbage in the street and you pick it up, is it now your garbage? And the answer is yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
If you put it back on the ground, that's just as much your fault.
Dude, I caught Jan on camera doing that, and he picked up trash. He's like, "Is this now mine?" I was like, "I think it is." He's like, "No."
Yep.
Wow. Speaking of trash on the street.
Oh, I think
there's some street trash on Hunter Street.
There is street trash on Hunter Street.
There's plenty
not in the form of debris, in the form of punk humans who have gone down there to tag, to make their presence known to the world. So first and foremost, we were talking about some things before this podcast started. Niko said, "Hey, they've been tagging more down here,
Mm-hmm.
And,
not just tagging, but vandalizing
and vandalizing too." Now, before we even get into that topic, quick roundabout: who here, at any point in their life, has vandalized or tagged something?
Well, define vandalism, because I've never tagged anything with spray paint.
Yeah, I think my most probably best example is putting like a sticker on a public thing, probably. But that's probably the furthest I've gone.
So technically, that's vandalism.
Yeah, totally.
That's low key, but really, Wren, you're a no.
I mean, I think I've like peed on a building before, but like, does that count?
That was probably in college for you.
Yeah, it was.
Niko?
No, it was last Tuesday.
I've never vandalized anything.
Really?
No.
Christian?
No, I mean, yeah, maybe I've
Wait.
like a public power.
Niko, I know a time.
Maybe stuck a sticker on it, but that's probably my extent.
There was that one guy who moved into Hunter Street.
Oh yeah,
like 8 years ago. He was
That's
very
not
aggressive.
Really, that's like revenge, though. That's not really vandalism.
What happened?
I mean,
technically it's vandalism, but it's not really.
Christian asked what happened. And this is a podcast. I'm obligated to tell a story.
Yes.
Let me take my gum out of my mouth. Okay. All right. Gum, not gun. All right.
Guys, the audio only people.
Audio only.
He's got a gun in his mouth.
So this dude moved in and like super, super aggressive, like probably some disorder or something like that. I don't know. I mean, at a certain point you can quantify anything as like a mental disorder, but he was an asshole through and through. So whatever, I don't know what, whatever label you want to put on that.
He was
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
nuts not in like you need to go to the hospital. I mean, maybe, you need to go to the hospital, but also nuts is in like, he was just really mean.
Yeah.
Like numerous things. Like, so I remember we were doing the light warfare video for Freddie's channel. And he comes zooming. Yeah. This is how far back it was. And he comes zooming down the street at like 60 miles an hour. And this is like a dead end warehouse street. And we're all in the middle of the street. He doesn't slow down. He just swerves around us, almost runs over all the camera gear. And we're like, this guy's nuts. And there's another time when like he was out in the street, like on his Bluetooth, like yelling into it. And Sam's looking out the window at him, and he looks up at Sam. He's like, "What?" And Sam's like, "I can look at you." He's like, "You want to fight?" And Sam's like, "Come up here." There's a time when he was walking up into the building, and one of Steve's like handymen was working it, and the guy called him a wetback, and other racial slurs. There's one of the craziest stories was so Dez was a guy who used to live in the building, and Dez turns a corner from Santa Fe onto Hunter, so he turns onto the street, and this guy, he's at that corner waiting to turn out of the street, and he makes eye contact with Dez. He throws his car in reverse, and he proceeds to drive with Dez, holding eye contact, not looking where he's going, while driving backwards, just glaring at Dez. So imagine, you're driving down the street and another dude's out the side, driving backwards, staring at you. Like, it's so reckless. I mean, he could easily kill somebody. So anyways, of course, in my theory, based on the damage to his car, he rear ends a semi-truck. If you rear end a semi-truck, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
It's like hitting a school bus. They're big and they're bright yellow. If you hit it, it's your fault. You're an idiot.
Backing up into a barn.
Yeah. So he parks his car in front of Joel's loading dock doors. So Joel owned the Poodle Parlor, which is a film location at the end of the street, and he runs it as a business. And so he needs those loading dock doors to load film trucks in and out. So the guy parks his bunk car with the damaged front in front of one of Joel's doors and doesn't move it. And by this point, we've had all these issues with the guy, like all these conflicts have happened. He's an asshole. Like, we're telling Che, who's the guy who's subletting to him, like, this guy's got to go. And Che, of course, doesn't do anything. So Joel comes to us and he goes, look, the guy's car is parked in front of my door. You guys want to help me out? You guys want to, tell him to move it? 'Cause I've told him to move it and he's not moving it. And they're like, we'll help you out. So So we had heard about something called ninja rocks, which are basically the ceramic of a spark plug. So, the hardness scale, like, for example, the only thing that can scratch a diamond is another diamond. Well, tempered glass is very, very hard, but tempered glass is also under internal pressure because of how it's made. And so if you scratch tempered glass, if you manage to disrupt the molecular structure of tempered glass explodes. Just like those Rupert drops or whatever they are, those little
Rupert drop, yeah.
Yep. So tempered glass is basically the same thing. So a ninja rock, basically you get a spark plug and set ceramic on a spark plug, and you can break it up into little pieces, and it's just ceramic, it's, crunch it with a brick or something like that, and you get little chunks. Anyways, you just lob one of those at tempered glass, and it'll cause the tempered glass to explode. So this is what we had heard. And then we went and proceeded to do experiments. And needless to say, when we were done, that car had no more windows. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember you guys telling me about that, like, right after it happened. I remember coming down to Hunter and seeing that guy a few times, and like, same thing happening, like having him walk by me with like these just aggro, malicious looks and everything. I wonder what happened to him. I wonder if he's in jail or something. Because
I don't know, man.
How long can you go around like that before
somebody kills you?
Yeah.
Seriously.
You meet the wrong person. You're angry to the wrong person. You do something to somebody else, and then you get caught for it. Obviously, like there's only so many.
And like, this isn't just like walking around like swearing once in a while. This is like aggressively like assaulting people.
Yeah,
this is crossing the line. This is
assault.
Yeah, this is like, I just want to be clear. This guy's not just like, shouting fuck once in a while. Like, he is assaulting people. He is putting people's lives in danger on the regular. Like, yeah. Hopefully the windows breaking on his car is a wake-up lesson, but we'll see. I mean, who knows? I haven't heard from the guy. Obviously, I'd have no interest in ever hearing from the guy.
I talked to him yesterday. He called me up. We caught up. Okay, so we'll go ahead and qualify that as reduced vandalism.
Punishment.
Yeah.
He was punished.
Okay, well, this sure makes me feel like the odd man out here, because I've certainly vandalized and tagged things in my day. Not that it was a good idea. Not that I even thought it was a good idea at the time, but the motivation for doing it was, I think, just such that you're like, well, I don't know how rebellious you guys were as teenagers.
Not very.
Okay. So I think that's maybe what it comes down to. I was very stick it to the man when I was a teen, and
Of course you were.
of course I was.
I just wanted to have fun. That was me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like.
I didn't necessarily do it for fun. I mean, we did it for fun too, but we never did anything serious. We never like burned down a building or something. But like, there was a time there was this. They built this bridge, and it had fresh concrete, and we tagged it, but we didn't tag the side facing the road because we didn't like actually want people to see it. We just wanted to spray paint a wall. Did that.
That's so much different than like somebody's brand new shop front and then going through the spray paint can, just putting a line across all the windows.
Yeah, we never did anything like that. I mean, that
kind of stuff's happening all over the place around Hunter and on Hunter.
I saw that one guy spray painting a swastika on the buildings across the street from us at one time. And then like the next day at the news,
a
truck showed up, and the woman reporter was like really kind of pissed at us because we were not being helpful.
Yeah, well, remember she was like, do you think there's a lot of like, anti-Semitism and like Nazism happening and growing, in the dark corners of the neighborhood? I'm like, no, it's clearly just some dude trying to like get people to be pissed off like you. And she's like, you're not giving me the soundbite I want.
Yeah.
Well, she also asked if I was drunk too, because she asked me like, well, what do you look like? I was like, I don't remember. She's like, you don't? Were you drunk? And I was like, whoa. I was like flying by him on my one wheel to go to my car. It was at like 9 p.m. at night, and I didn't even remember. I just remember him turning around me like, hey, what's up? Like, oh, that's weird. Why are you saying hello? I didn't think about it until the next day when the guy was like, hey, we have you on camera, like talking with him. What did you say? What did he say? And I was like, what are you talking about?
What guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks he's just doing it to get people to finally paint over the graffiti. So the city is supposed to paint over graffiti, and keep it from getting, from spreading.
Guys, we've got a great solution to all the graffiti in LA. We're going to go around with red spray paint. We're going to tag swastikas over all of it. That way people will actually cover it up with paint.
I have been tempted to do that, by the way. Like, I was thinking about just doing giant like dicks on everything. Just like, look, I'm tired of this graffiti sitting here. Take care of your buildings, guys.
I think even in irony, it's a very bad idea to ever make a swastika.
That's why I was going to do big penises.
Yeah, that'd be better.
Yeah.
Okay,
and I'd have like comment bubbles, like they'd be talking about the graffiti.
Let's talk about the motivations here a little bit. You're assuming you're a young person, right? You're not really out there tagging in your mid 30s. At least if you are, you're doing it either as a professional street artist or you need to reevaluate your life decisions. So let's assume you're a young person out there. You're gonna tag the lighting building on Hunter Street. Why?
Lighting.
Quick roundabout. Wren, why would you tag that?
The answer to this one.
I actually caught somebody tagging that building. Actually, he wasn't tagging it. He was doing a calligraphy art piece on the door. And he's like, look, if they don't like it, they can paint it over. But I just want to make something beautiful here. And like, I like that kind of stuff, like the random acts of art thing. I mean, that's what we talked about in our graffiti graders video. But it's the people that go around and just like slap their name up on shit that clearly like people don't want them to. Like somebody takes some nice time finishing a building and somebody goes and scratches their name in the window. It's like, fuck you, man.
Like AIDS. Actually, I shouldn't mention his name. There's a guy though. He tagged everything downtown.
What'd you call him?
That's his tag name.
AIDS?
Yeah, with a Z. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that we mentioned him, we gave him
that notoriety he's been looking for. The screaming into the void's working for him.
What can you do? Okay, so there you go. Christian's hitting it on the head. Are they just screaming into the void, or?
Well, I mean, yes, but I feel like definitely part of this too is that, the area is becoming more expensive. It's becoming gentrified. Businesses are moving in, and there's generally an attitude of, "Hey, get out of here! This is my place. You guys are ruining it."
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck the man.
Yeah.
That's the mentality. Yeah.
Like, what do you think, Wren?
I mean, I don't know. I just because you're not you're not shoving it to the man or whatever. You're inconveniencing.
But you
the
think
person.
you are because you're an ignorant young person. You're like say you're 17 years old, you're 16 years old. You go out with your buddy. You're drawing all day at school, and you hate school because it doesn't teach you anything about tagging. So then you go and you tag because you're like, hey, well, they have a business. I don't have a business. They're the man. I'm not. Because you're further down on the societal totem pole, and so anybody that's like not, you and your friends and the music that you listen to and whatever other cultural influences you take on as part of your personality are all, you reject it all.
I don't know. I guess part of me is like, it's hard for me to relate to that because I just like never did that, and I don't really have any desire to do that. But the other part of me gets it. Like, I'm like, I mean, there are far worse things they could be doing to other people just to, show it to the man or whatever. Like you're going to paint on something. You're inconveniencing a private person who has to go and now paint it up because the government's not going to do it. And I don't know. It just seems silly, all of it to me.
It certainly shows a lack of empathy.
Yeah, I think, that's what it comes down to. It's just like, the lack of caring for others in that kind of way is just like, why?
If society's not doing anything for me / has failed me, then why should I care about society? It's kind of the general consensus I get from it.
Yeah.
But so that's when you get into the particulars of like who it is, and then it's like, well, has society really failed you, or do you just feel that way, et cetera, et cetera. There's also some gang stuff that goes on in and around Hunter Street every now and then.
That guy who dropped by today.
Oh,
a guy dropped by today?
You were there, weren't you?
No, Niko. We were waiting on Niko. That's why we were locked out.
Oh, okay, yeah. So getting into the studio was a whole problem today because our electronic locks died, so we had to wait for Niko to show up to open it with his one lock. So like,
I got 2 calls of, hey, can you just throw the keys down? Like, I don't live there anymore.
I don't live there anymore.
What do we do, guys?
I was like, oh shoot, that's a real problem we have now. We should probably make copies of those keys now.
It was always Niko whenever all else failed.
Yeah.
So
it's Spencer.
It's Sam, Nick, Christian, and myself. We're all just chilling out in front of the studio, acceptably socially distanced, of course. And this guy rolls up in a BMW, rolls his window down. His seat is like really like leaned back, and I forget what he says. It's like, hey,
he goes, "Do you know where I can get 500 units?" And Sam goes, "What?
Crack?"
Like,
and he goes 500 units, and he looks at Nick. He goes, "You know what I'm talking about?"
And Nick's like,
and Sam goes, "Are we talking about drugs? What?" And he goes, "Yeah, dude, I need some bud. I need 500 units." And then it was, oh, and then we were literally like, "Oh, there's a dispensary down the street. Like, you can go there." Like, Sam literally gave him directions. He goes, "Yeah, go right on Santa Fe, left on Sacramento, and there's a big green Buddha place there." He goes, "No, I'm looking for more like the bulk,
like wholesale." He wanted wholesale. He wanted to become a dealer.
It ended up just being a laugh because we're like, "Oh yeah, dude, none of us are gonna help you out with that." He was looking. He just rolled up and was just like, "Yo, you know where I can get 500 units?" And Sam was just so like, "What are you?"
Well, because like we all, he was like, no. He's like making eye contact with each of us, and I'm just smiling at him, going like, "No, dude, I don't know what you're talking about." And then Sam like literally like looks at me, he's like, "Are you talking about drugs?"
Yeah. He goes, "Are we talking about drugs?" And he goes, "Yeah, dude, bud."
Like, he's like, "I don't know. Could we talk about guns or taxes? Like, what are we talking about here?"
Are we talking about like apartment units? Like you're looking for a 500 unit building?
Yeah, Sam just started ripping on a bunch of different unit measurements and was like, "You could have been talking about anything, man."
This is why you always label your units, guys.
I've never heard anyone refer to weed that way, but perhaps he's talking about such large quantities that I don't know.
That's what it was, yeah.
He's talking about like wholesale or whatever.
He wanted grams. He was using a different word instead of grams, I think.
There are like there's at least 4 grow ops on Hunter Street.
Well, that's what we also said. Sam's main joke was you could probably just walk up and down the street and start knocking on doors and you'll find somebody.
Yeah. He was like, "Man, I was hoping to avoid that. I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do." He pulls down the street and parks.
Yeah, dude, it's actually like it's kind of concerning how many grow ops there are on Hunter Street because, as shown by that butane explosion that happened in LA 2 days ago, grow ups are not always the most. They don't always follow OSHA regulations, if you know what I'm saying.
Guys,
I'm kind of worried that there's gonna be a fire on the street at some point because of shitty electrical wiring, and then and there goes our studio.
I mean, remember when we got the studio, how bad the electrical wiring was?
Yeah, and that wasn't even a grow up.
No. Yeah, that was just we just wanted to put our computers up. And we had to rewire, not even rewire, we had to add wire and do some rewiring to the whole building.
You guys want to have another story time?
Yeah.
All right. So probably about 3, maybe 4 years ago, there was a power outage and all the lights went out in the studio. And, we give it like half an hour to an hour. And power outages happen, especially in that part of LA. Just because
we've all since gotten backup batteries for every computer.
Yes.
Yep.
They've come in handy so many times.
Yeah, there's a lot of hiccups in the power. And part of it is just there's a lot of construction that was happening in that neighborhood. So, you'd have to take the electrical down for a minute and reroute things, and that stuff would happen. But this is a true power outage. It goes out and doesn't come back on for 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes. And we're well, you guys want to play TTT? We spent the rest of the day playing TTT with Nerf guns. It was a blast. We had a great time. But what had happened, so, across the street and down the street a little bit, some dudes had moved in. They were doing extractions, basically where you make weed vape stuff. And rather than paying their electrical bill, they decided they should just illegally tap into the electrical mains for the city so they don't have to pay the money to grow their weed. And sure enough, they pulled too much power and they blow the transformers and end up, taking out power to the entire block.
Yeah.
And first off, that's such an asshole move. All the businesses now are without power because these assholes can't pay their electrical bill for the stuff that they're making money off of. It's right. You're going to screw over all these other businesses on the street because you guys are too selfish to handle that.
Is this a form of vandalism?
And
no,
this is thievery.
Criminal negligence.
That's criminal recklessness, or at least criminal negligence.
What's the difference between the recklessness and negligence?
Recklessness is when you knew that it was wrong, but you did it anyways. And negligence is when everyone else in your same position would have known that it was wrong, but you're just not that smart and you didn't realize it.
Gotcha.
I mean, to me, this is thievery, is it not?
Well, there's thievery against the utility company.
Yeah.
And then there's recklessness and reckless endangerment. And then obviously, if it causes a fire and you have arson or whatever that damage is, that property damage, because it's reckless, it rises to the level of guilt, as if you did it anyways. So that's not good for them.
No. But needless to say, that got the FBI involved, and they shut those guys down, and they tracked the illegal wiring to another unit on the street and took all the plants out. They didn't, no warrant, by the way, because, if those guys are going to play dirty, the FBI plays dirty. They just went in, cut the locks quietly, took all the plants out and left. Wow. And that was that. So good for them, because screw those guys. But
the FBI just took their whole crop.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and all their gear. They just took it. That was it. We're we're not going to charge you, but all that stuff is ours now.
To buy some influence.
Yeah, welcome to the real world, guys. This is how law enforcement actually operates, and they're not trying to tell you how it works in the newspaper. Yeah. But that's how it goes. This is the game that they play. But and then so there's this fire in LA 2 days ago. There's an explosion downtown. So there's an extraction company, and of course they don't have all their flammables stored in a safe spot.
Weed extraction.
Yeah, they said it's for vape too, and maybe it's for both.
What's it called? Hash.
They're making e-juice. I don't know, hash oil.
Yeah, hash oil.
I don't know if it was just weed. It might have been multiple. Just all.
The moral of the story is it was some sort of burnable oil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're using butane to extract it because you can, you shoot butane through the buds, and then you collect the resin from, that gathers from the butane, which dissolves it. And of course, they're not following any sort of regulations when they're doing it. A fire starts and all their butane isn't stored in a safe spot, and firefighters are trying to put it out. it all lights on fire, it blows up, 11 firefighters go to the hospital, all because these assholes are trying to be cheap. And dude, that stuff just grinds my gears, man. It pisses me off.
Yeah, especially when you're yeah, no, it does. The question that I wonder is like, given the gray area of legality with a lot of this stuff, I wonder if they're disinterested in seeking is to establish like industry standards for fear of you know, criminal prosecution. Because, you know, like again, the entire marijuana industry is still playing the game of it's illegal federally, but it might be legal in your state.
Yeah.
So is that gray area causing people to be like, well, I mean, obviously you get a certain type of person who's going to work at a weed facility, right? Like they're probably, at least if Chinatown Market has taught me anything, and the surrounding, not that Chinatown Market's a weed manufacturer, but like they're those types of guys. Let's be honest. So,
you know, chill 20-year-olds.
Yeah, they're really chill, hip 20-year-olds, and they wear like the tie-dyed overalls with one slinging off, and then they cut them off at the ankles, and they wear the dress shoes with the tall socks and like the stocking hat tilted to the side. You have like the long blonde hair that's not cut sticking out from under the walk up and down the street. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that, but that's the type of person that works there. So you got that type of person, and then you also got this whole thing where it's like, well, if I'm a weed manufacturer and say I'm making hash oil or I'm making whatever juice or whatever, and I stick my head too far up too high, you know, is the government is the FBI gonna come in or the ATF gonna come in and chop it off? Or can I like reach out to my other, you know, can I make a chain? Can I franchise? Because I feel like
it's a different type of game you play once you get to that level, you know?
Right.
That's where you got to go to
but those are the types of people that are going to come up with regulations at the same time.
Right. When you stick your head up that high, that's where you need to be like doing campaign contributions and going to your city council meet and greets, and your dinners and like schmooze with the mayor and that kind of stuff. And it's no different than, you know, meeting with your agent and like schmoozing some producers at a dinner. It's the exact same thing, just it's a different industry.
Right.
But you gotta be able to play the game.
Yeah. So, okay. So the person, say there's somebody who's looking to franchise in the weed game, and then they go and do that, and they're doing all those things, but they're not paying attention to their factory operations. Right? Somewhere somebody got negligent at least.
Oh yeah.
And then
accidents don't happen because they're being responsible.
I've been thinking more and more about this. Anytime someone gets injured, 99% of the time somebody gets injured, it's because somebody who is either at fault or partially at fault for the accident itself wasn't paying attention, or they were paying attention but they were doing something stupid. Like you're doing something, you're paying attention, but the circumstances in which you're doing it are not good. And so that's 99%, I feel like. And then the other 1% is like, you know, mechanical failures and things that are out of human control.
We've also heard the term, you know, risk mitigation. And, you know, a lot of people think like that means avoid risk. And that's not necessarily what risk mitigation means. You know, accidents and bad things happen, not because usually one thing goes wrong, but because many different things have gone wrong, and they shouldn't have. You know, it's like, let's say somebody dies because a heavy object falls off a shelf, hits them in the head, and they die. You know, they're working at a warehouse. It's like, well, risk mitigation, they should have been wearing their hard hat. It's like, yes, but there's actually a lot of things at play. You know, the thing that was put on the top shelf shouldn't have been put there. Shelves shouldn't have been that high. Shelves should have had the guards, you know, in place. The box should have had this kind of stuff in it. The person worked too late and they were tired. They shouldn't have been, you know, they should have had their break by then. Like there's a whole stack of things where at any point, you know, at any point had you followed regulation or, you know, the rules, it would have averted the crisis. You know, it's not one thing that happens. It's a whole chain of things, and you make it through each one of those, making the shitty decision until you get to the end, and then the accident happens. And that's always stuck with me.
One of those things have to go wrong for this guy to die.
Is that a perfect segue into coronavirus, or?
Well, actually, before we go into that, before we leave this whole, like, you know, the jungle that is Hunter Street now, I want to talk about when my car was broken into.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the pandemic, my car was broken into. And you know what? This is the perfect time for me to screen share. Christian, will you give me share abilities?
You hide your sensitives.
You should be able to.
I like how it thinks Christian's shirt. The background behind Yoda is also getting filtered out.
Sometimes
of his shirt.
Just depending on.
Every now and then, it's like Baby Yoda's looking at the sky.
Are you able to share the screen? You should be able
Yep.
to.
Yep.
Okay.
Here we go. I just
You're gonna have to be very descriptive for our audio listeners.
I will. All right. So this is Hunter Street.
Ooh, we got
see
this
this big
camera
truck?
feed.
Ooh, okay, guys, we got a full camera feed.
So you see this big truck parked in the bottom left corner?
Yeah.
That's one part of the thievery gang that hit the street and robbed my car. I'll jump forward a little bit here. So I spoke to the cops. I came and they made a police report. I'm like, I have this footage. Like, cool, come and pick it up on your SD card. And I've called them twice. They've never come by. They have no interest. And that also pisses me off. Like, I have the dudes right here who did it. And you know what?
Plate.
I have their license plate numbers because my neighbor woke up from his dog barking and took down all their license plate numbers. I even typed one of them into Google, and the truck shows up. I have all the registration information. Of course, the person.
What?
Yeah.
Jesus.
You know, the information of the person is private.
Why have you not filed a detective's report?
I did.
They
We
just
live
haven't
in
come
LA,
to grab
man.
it. They haven't
just
come
don't
to get the
care.
evidence.
They don't give a shit. Look at these dudes. There they are. These are the assholes that robbed my car, man. Like, these are their trucks. These are their vans. I want to say their license plate number online, but I have a thing against witch hunts, so I'm not going to do it. But look at these guys. Just walking around.
Stealing shit with a cargo van.
Yeah. It's a whole operation.
Look at that guy. You could take that guy out real easy. One swift hit.
Oh, Jesus.
You can barely even walk.
Man. And it's just like, and they got in this big argument for some reason. Like, apparently the operation wasn't going super smoothly. Yeah.
None of them have masks on. They're just.
None of them have masks on. Oh, and you can see, so if I go back one here, there's the shadow of my trunk on the right there. This is the dude in my car. He got into the trunk somehow.
Oh, so he broke into your new car.
Yep. And there he's got all the ferny pads that I had in my trunk on top of my stroller. Thankfully, my one wheels weren't in the car. But he stole our stroller, and he broke my freaking LCD screen on my dashboard. Like, out of all the things to break, like the LCD screen, it's expensive.
So you're telling
not even robbing it.
You're telling me that you have the car.
I have the cars. I have their license plates.
Their license plates, their registration numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And you've called the LAPD. You've called the LAPD and told them that you have this information and that they've committed grand larceny.
Yeah.
And they literally haven't sent out a detective to do anything about this.
Correct.
Grand larceny is a felon. That's 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, look at this dude. There he is grabbing all my shit right there on the right corner of the screen. And he's going to put it all in the stroller, and off he goes. Dude, he stole my spike ball kit.
He's just strolling down the street with your stroller.
Left on that spike ball kit.
There it is. There it is. There's a spike ball kit right there. You see that yellow circle with the S in it?
He's
Dude, I like
literally just
spike ball.
strolling down your street with your stroller.
I know, man. Dude.
And you've had so much trouble with this car. How long have you had this car?
I haven't had any trouble. I had it for 1 year. This is the only issue I've had with it. Oh no, wait, no, except for the guys that print Renegades
That's
also
what I was-
slashing my
yeah.
tires because I parked at the
Slash.
parking spot.
Can we talk about why that is? How could that possibly be?
What's
part?
that?
How could that possibly be? How could you possibly have this much information, give it to the proper authority, and then have them not do anything? And then also, second question, what are you expected to do in light of that?
Dude, I don't know, man. I mean, part of it, like, this is the beginning of the pandemic, so I'm sure the cops are a little bit, preoccupied with other things. But It's probably because, you know what?
Preoccupied with finding people for trying to run their businesses.
Dude, it's because it's work, man. It's because you got to sit there and you got to do work, and it doesn't just get done without you, and no one wants to do that shit. It's bureaucracy. No one wants to do work. It's like, oh, I got this report. I can go talk to the guy. I can get the video. I can write these reports. I could run the numbers. And then I'm going to have the guy's address. I'm going to make a warrant. Go out there, serve the warrant. Might have to deal with a confrontation. Or I could just not. You know?
Do you honestly, why would you get into the profession of detective or police or law then?
Yeah, I mean, that's supposed to be your job.
Maybe they got bigger fish to fry.
They don't. Look, this whole game.
Pretty heavy fish right here.
There's like 25,000 law enforcement officers on the LAPD.
Yeah,
and this is a pretty big fish, and you got all the information you need.
This is a open and shut, they call it. You get these guys, you arrest them, you get them to a plea deal. They serve a year and a month, and that's it. And it's lesson learned.
Yeah, dude, I literally have the license plate number for this pickup truck right here. I looked it up, and its registration is current. They didn't even use a fake license plate. Like, we could run it. We could get the dude's name and go to his house, and we could ninja rock his windows.
I'm not going to say we should do that, but that's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
You want to hear about the time my car got stolen?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to stop screen sharing. Wait, hold on. Let's just one last thing. These guys get into a fight right here.
I was going to say, what's going on? It looks like there's about to be a confrontation.
In that moment?
Yeah. I guess this guy's just doing a shitty job of being on lookout or something like that. And like, they start yelling at each other, and they're like,
yeah, because it looks like he's asking him to get out of the car.
Yeah. Like, fine, I'll take over driving the cargo van.
Look at these bunch of wankers.
They were on the street for so long, just sitting here.
Yeah, they are just out here exposed to whatever.
So this is 2:30 in the morning, right?
Yep. And then finally they get out of there, and that's the end of that.
Oh, my God. Whew. Son.
Dang. Here, the car
Yeah. Sorry. Tell us your story. And I've had a lot of stories in this podcast.
Yeah.
So back in college, I had this crappy old car. It was a Mazda 626. I loved it. It was amazing. But I was staying at my girlfriend's house for the night, and this was back when I didn't store anything of value in my car, so I never locked the doors. And I was like, this is a crappy car. No one's gonna like there's nothing to steal, not a big deal in here, except for the fact that that mindset had a complete disconnect from the other mindset, which was I need to store a spare key in the glove compartment of my car.
A spare key to your house or to the car?
To the car. In the glove compartment of an unlocked car.
Dude, bravo.
If you got locked out, you weren't going to get
Trust me, it was two completely different, this is a brilliant thought. This is also a brilliant thought. Together, they are the worst thought. So, of course, naturally, one morning, I woke up to go to class that morning. I had an 8 o'clock class, and my car is gone. And I was like, that's weird. That's really freaking weird. I didn't clue in that, my car had been stolen. I later found out that it had been stolen. No,
Wait.
I filed a police report because I very quickly figured out that it was probably stolen. What's up, Jake?
How long between walking outside and seeing that your car was not where you parked it to realizing that it may have been stolen?
I don't know, a couple months. No, I'm playing. It was maybe.
What the heck? But you so just for 2 months, you were just like, oh, yeah, I don't know where my car's at.
Minutes?
Sure, it's fine.
It was, I ended up showing up to class at the end of that class. It was my calculus class, and I told the professor that I missed class because my car had been stolen. So,
you
at max an hour later.
Right.
Okay. But so I filed a police report, and I was really bummed about it because it was I was 19 or so. I was in a sophomore in college, and it was as a college student, if you have a car, that's your biggest thing in life. And so now I had it gone. And so I was kind of really depressed. And a week and a half goes by and I get a call from the police saying that they found my car. And I couldn't believe it because at this point I was starting to give up hope that it was ever going to get found again. So I immediately jumped in my friend's car and he drove me out to where they had found it. It was just on the side of the road. It was probably just some person. I don't want to say like a homeless person because I just simply don't know. But they'd gotten into they're like, oh, hey, look at this. The car's unlocked. Check that out. Check the glove compartment. What's the value in here? Oh, it's a key. This looks like the car key. I'm going to try it. Oh, snap. The car turned on. What a lucky day. This is 3 or 4 in the morning, whatever. And it was a stick shift. And one of my girlfriend's roommates at the time recalls waking up to hearing someone stalling their car like 4 or 5 times early in the morning. So it was obviously some dude who didn't know how to drive a stick shift car. They made it like 5-10 miles away, something like that.
Okay, so let's break this down. It was a homeless person looking for money to buy drugs, and they went into your car and they found the key and they drove off with it for a joyride.
Something like that. But they did take everything that was in my car. So I had and this is what made me realize that my thought process of there's nothing of value in my car was so wrong because they took the entire center dash console. They ripped it out. They took like the radio and whatnot.
Sell that for a couple bucks out of that.
But the worst of it was, and they also like took my CDs. I had like this Metallica CD that had just come out. It was like Death Magnetic or something like that. They had taken that CD. I love that CD.
That's when you got pissed.
Oh, dude, no. I had just gotten back from a trip up to Seattle to visit my my aunt, and she had homemade jam that she had made from berries she had picked on her property, her house. I forget what kind of jam it was, but he didn't take the jam. He ate half of it and left the other half. So
wow.
That's I'm like, well, I can't eat the rest of this now. I don't know what's in it. I'm just picturing this homeless guy after just finishing going on a joyride, opening this jar and just like eating half a jar of jam and being like, I'm full, putting it in the driver or the passenger seat, getting out of the car and never returning.
That's the most Portland story I've ever heard.
Yes, this was in Portland, Oregon. I forgot to mention.
Wow. Yeah. There's a couple like kids in Downey, they're like early 20s. They're not like, I don't know. They're just looking for money and stuff, They're just hood rats, and they come through and they check doors and they occasionally steal people's cars like that. And yeah, it's not good.
I do
always lock my car from then on.
Yeah, Wren, I do have to ask one question though. What is the logic of keeping a spare key to the car in the glove compartment of the car?
I honestly don't remember.
Because the idea would be is you need that spare key if you get locked out, but if you're locked out, you're not getting into that glove.
No, the logic doesn't really make sense. I think I remember having a good reason for it because
you never locked your car door.
It was because I never locked my car and I was worried about losing my keys. Yeah. And I wanted to have that key.
That would be. I
didn't have like a lockbox underneath the tailpipe.
So you put it in the glove compartment?
Yes.
The key to the car is just sitting in the glove.
Trust me, I know how dumb this was. I had my car stolen. It was a big wake-up call.
But you got the car. That's the same car you took down to LA, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Little white Mazda?
Yep.
Wow.
I eventually replaced the radio in it. I had it for many, many years until some truck driver in LA was on his phone and rear-ended me and completely caved in the back of my car. That was the very morning we shot the first day of Video Game Heroes versus Superheroes when you dressed up as Master Chief. That. I was like 30 minutes late for that shoot because I'd just been rear-ended.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, dang.
Whew. Wow. What does it all mean, guys? What does all this mean?
It means we're all living in a simulation.
Well, what's funny? Like, I just moved. This is my new office, and I just was outside the other night, and I was looking at the stars, and I was thinking about how petty, like, the things that humans argue about is.
Oh.
Or the things that we like are so important. You know, you got the guy who's angry all the time at Hunter Street, and he's like causing near-death incidents with people because who knows what's going on there. You've got the guys who come down in the cargo van and they just literally start breaking windows and taking things out of people's cars. You got the kids who come by and tag. You got the guy who's looking for, you know, just whatever he can find that stumbles upon Wren's car. And then, you know, he's out somewhere in a field eating jam.
No, not my jam. That's my jam.
It's so ridiculous when you think about it all. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, that's my conclusion.
I'm just glad I'm not living at Hunter Street anymore. It was getting really stressful. Wow. Dude. Yeah.
Good sentence.
I mean, I love Hunter Street, and I got stories for days, but like, dude, like I grew up down the street because they didn't want to spend the money for air conditioners, put giant industrial fans on the roof instead. They put like 6 of them in a row. And I woke up one morning and like, what's that noise? It sounds like my microwave is on. I go in the kitchen, my microwave's not on. Go in the front room, I still hear it. Are my neighbors vacuuming? And then the noise doesn't stop. And it goes on and on and on for the entire day, into the night, into the next day, and into the next night. And eventually I go up on the roof to figure out what it is. Like maybe there's construction happening or something like that. I don't know. And it's those fans, and they're all cranked up to like maximum power. And it's literally just
like a server farm.
Yeah, like a server farm.
But it wasn't just loud fans. They were resonating at the same frequency of the building. So the entire building was shaking from these fans. Because I also separately was like, what the hell is this? It was driving me crazy because it was an annoying noise because it was the actual building emitting the noise. So I went up to the roof and I walked across all the other roofs where we did like the Nerf drone fight with Jan, and all the way to the end there where it kind of starts sloping up and there's this big, huge like fan things. And that's when I realized, oh, it's these things making noise.
Yeah. No regards for their neighbors. No regards for anybody else. They could just put, you know, a sound barrier up and it wouldn't have been an issue.
They burn out? Didn't they burn out?
Yeah. So thankfully karma, you know, came and caught them. Because when you are that much of an asshole, well, you know, noise is a good way of knowing that energy is being dissipated through a system. And when your fans are making that much noise, it means there's a lot of energy going into the structure of your fan. And so sure enough, about 5 or 6 days later, like I'm getting very close to like, I'm, you know, typing in like what corrodes aluminum so I can start like pouring it into this fan. I don't have to do it because suddenly there starts to be like a sound coming from those fans. Of course it's loud. I'm like, I can live with that, assuming that it gets worse for the next day or so. Sure enough, the next day, silence. So those fans burned themselves out. I think what actually happened, the fans are probably not supposed to be that loud. I think they wired them incorrectly. I'm sure, you know, it wasn't permitted or anything like that. And I think they overdrove the voltage into them. The fans were cranked way too high.
Yeah, they probably just, the motors are probably way overcranked.
Yeah.
They burned out in a matter of days.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing guys up there working on them.
Mm-hmm. The fans are still there now, but they're much quieter.
Oh, they finally got the noise down.
We should hire somebody to just live at the studio and document everything that happens on that street. really study.
That was me. Like, I mean, I had a camera. I documented it. I just showed you guys footage of my car getting robbed. Like, what else do you want? This is the result, Jake.
I mean, nothing.
No, like, look, you've laid a great foundation, Niko. But what we need to do is we need to pay some kid to go in there and like live there and like literally go to every building and shake hands with everybody and be like, "Hi, my name is, you know, Steve Jr. and I live here and this is where I live. So I'm a video creator." And then literally have that person like create portfolios on every person and business activity on the street, and then come up with like actually follow and track stories of what happens there.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there could be there's gold in them hills. Who wants to do it? Let us know in the comments.
Be a fun
Needless to
series
say, now I have sidewalks and trees and sweet old Armenian neighbors. This is my third night at this house. And
Oh, just wait till you have to apply for car insurance. You're gonna have to pay more.
Really? Why's that?
Because Glendale is the highest, most expensive car insurance place in
Oh wow.
Really?
In the
It's up there. I don't know if it's the top, but it's definitely up there because there are two things: a very high rate of accidents and a very high density of expensive cars. In Glendale, there are tons of
White BMW.
Mercedes, BMWs, Lexuses, a lot of expensive cars, and they love to get wrecked. They love. They love.
You're going to notice, if you haven't noticed it already, is how often you will see someone in a BMW, Mercedes, Jaguar, or Audi who is predominantly Persian or Armenian.
Armenian.
Nothing against them, but this is just predominant. Most of the people that are racing down the streets of Glendale in those types of cars, there is a more probable than not that they will be one of those types of individuals. And often like looking like they just got out of the gym.
Dude, I will say,
I hate to like fuel like stereotypes, but
oh, they're fun. Come
honestly,
on.
my
Have a little fun
experience
with them.
living in Glendale for 4 years.
You're saying you agree with that? It's same as
Okay, so not obviously goes without saying that there's plenty of exceptions to every stereotype. But it is kind of funny to think about because, even Family Guy made a joke about it in that one episode. Yeah. They make jokes about everything. But anyway, yeah.
I will say when I was moving in, one of my neighbors met the guy. He's really nice. He lent me his hand dolly for moving furniture. But they're having a graduation party. It was one of those things like, there's like 20 people at your house and like half of them are old. You know what's going on right now, right? I mean, I get it. Like if you're not super concerned, you've been socially isolating, but like there's a lot of old people at that party. So
they're like, look, we made it through a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
We're not worried about that.
It's like we like to gamble.
No, Glendale's awesome though. I think you're gonna love it up there. There's a ton to do. There's a ton of different types of people. There's really good food. There's a ton of places to go out, and it's close to the studio. It's close to where you can hike. It's close to the valley. So yeah, I think that's why a lot of people live there, and also, people are always going through there, which is probably why there's so many accidents. Because every time my sister-in-law lives there, and every time we go up there, it's just the traffic is crazy.
Yeah.
I wish there was some public transit there, like metro train.
I don't know if there's not one up there.
No, because remember how my car had gotten wrecked, and so I spent like 6 months just riding my one wheel to the studio every day. But this is before the XR that could do all the range, so I was having to go to the train and take the train to downtown Union Station and then ride the rest of the way. But it wasn't like Metro; it was like Amtrak. It was like like you buy your ticket to the seat, you put your stuff in the overhead bin, and you sit on the train.
Yeah, the train.
Yeah, train.
Yeah.
Not just the get on and get off.
Whereas in Pasadena, where I live now, they actually have proper, the Gold Line, the Metro that comes through, and that's awesome. It's easier, quicker.
Whew. Well, guys, I guess conclusions in the comments below, please. If you know the meaning of it all, and you know why angsty teens draw graffiti, and you know why people steal cars and slash people's tires.
And eat half a jar of jam.
Let us know in the comments. And also, 2 podcasts ago, this is a worthy of report here. 2 podcasts ago, we told you guys about a little bit more about the details of our website. Wren, what is that?
This picture of him.
Is that you? You haven't changed a bit, my friend. Okay, so 2 podcasts ago, we told you guys about what we're doing with our website. We told you guys about how one subscription on the website is equivalent to more than 1,000 YouTube videos. And a bunch of people, a bunch of Troutons went over there and signed up for the site. That was incredibly inspiring. I've told you guys we're going through the process of hiring a few more editors. That is in part to serve the ends of the new site. As part of that, a new feature that's being introduced right now, it's available on web, and it's going to be soon on Android, and then after that on iOS. Chromecast works.
Oh, really?
So if you have Chromecast at home and you want to get, and you're a member and you want to get the Corridor site,
our videos
in full 4K onto your TV, and you don't want to go through YouTube's janky compression, you can do that. Also, there will be the live stream feature is already working on web, but it's also already working on Android, and next week it's going to be on iOS. And if you guys don't have the app for your phone, whether that's Android or iOS, download it and give us some feedback, because we are fast approaching the public launch of the site, and we want to make sure that those are in ship shape. So please let us know. And also we will be notifying you guys when we have our Patreon live streams and website live streams more.
Yeah, and that'll be actually next Friday. We're going to do another live stream. Now, everybody, even if you're just subscribed to the website, you can also join those streams. We're working on notifications, but there's also push notifications when you're on the website. When we're live, there's a little "we're live" button. So
we didn't have those last time. We got them now.
Yep, we got them now. So next Friday at 5 p.m., we'll be doing a live stream on the website. We are looking at your guys' comments. We're looking at your guys' feedback that's coming through the site. We are
super valuable.
Yeah. And Clint has joined us in Wren's plane. So
drinking a Nerf dart.
He is drinking a Nerf dart.
Okay, so what's that, Christian? Next Friday at 5 Pacific?
Next Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, we will be live on a big Zoom call on the website. One final announcement. The podcast next week, we have a special guest, Mr. Carmichael, David Carmichael. We are going to be filming that podcast on Wednesday, and we are planning to release it on Thursday. So
if you are wondering about how to get your earbuds on the nicest human in the world, consider tuning in. Consider subscribing. And
you have to title that podcast "The Nicest Podcast."
The nicest podcast
with the nicest guy.
With the nicest guy. In the nicest forum on the nicest platform.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Good stuff, gentlemen.
As always, guys, thanks again. And until next week.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for listening to all my stories of getting robbed.
And then flirting with vengeance.
Yeah.
Jake,
it was definitely cathartic.
Jake was like, "Have you ever vandalized anything?" And Niko's like, "No, of course I wouldn't do that. What melts aluminum? And I'm going to pour it all over this building here."
Yeah. I've thought about it.
I have dark fantasies about vandalizing.
You didn't even mention the things that you told me about your ideas for how to get back at print renegades. We didn't even discuss any of that.
Next week.
Oh, boy. Anyways. I'm
right.
dark and mysterious, guys. You wouldn't know it by my demeanor. But inside, it's all pain.
No one knows. It's all pain in here.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. This was a blast. We'll see you guys in the next one.